go.
Oh, we are live. Hello. Well, welcome everybody. We are not professionals here tonight, but we certainly love wine and we love Riverside. So we're so glad that you are here with us tonight. I am Kristen Witt. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you have your wine board. We're going to get to housekeeping in just a little bit. But first, I am joined by Dr. Nancy Littlefield. Nancy is our Executive Vice President and Chief Nursing Officer, personal mentor to me and so many. We're so glad to have her here.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. So many things that happened in 2020 aren't what we planned. So if you had asked me at the beginning of 2020 if I would be in a wine cellar with a connoisseur of wine behind us that looks like our bouncer with Kristen Witt, it just was not on my bingo card, but I'm so glad to be here. And our only wish is that we could do this in person, but we're so glad that you joined us today.
We are. And to reiterate, Nancy and I are not professionals at this. Maybe tasting wine, but not actually broadcasting and staying on script. So throughout the night, we appreciate you laughing with us as we deliver some really powerful messages to you, but feel like we're right there with you. You know, it's been our honor to partner with you and to witness your generosity. And this has been an absolutely remarkable year. To Nancy's point, usually we come together, right? In a room with our doctors, we celebrate each other, we can be together, but we can't. This is our way to come together when we can't be together. COVID has changed so much and so fast, but our communities and all of you signed on with us tonight really stepped up in amazing ways. 200 donations of PPE. Now, did you know what PPE meant before this pandemic? I did not. More than 15,000 face masks, hand sewn, numerous respirators, face shields, gloves, even pieces of technology that were donated, 150 donations of food, 138 gift cards to benefit our team members, totaling $443,000 in support for our COVID response. We can't thank you enough. It's amazing. I have to give a special shout out to Jessica Deal if she is watching. It is her birthday, and her mom.
Happy birthday.
Thank Jessica, happy birthday. Her mom hand sewn a lot of those masks and hand them right over to me so I could take them to the cancer center. This pandemic has presented us with so many challenges, but what we have known all along, and now the world is finally catching up, we have real life heroes working at Riverside every single day.
And they surround us. And today, one of my favorite days of the year is Veterans Day. And they too are real life heroes. Many of us have loved real life heroes called a veteran, my dad being one, that we're so grateful to celebrate them today. Thank you for your service to our country. And for all of you that are on the call, please reach out, especially today, to thank a veteran.
I agree. And thank you to your families who have made sacrifices as well. I'm the granddaughter of 2 Army vets. I'm the daughter of a United States Air Force vet, and I lived in Maryland, and we sponsored midshipmen from the Naval Academy. It's been woven into my life, and we can't thank you enough for all you've done. So happy Veterans Day.
Happy Veterans Day.
We say an extra cheers for you. Okay, so some housekeeping. We hope that you have opened your wine packs because it's that time. We hope you've chilled that steel-barreled Chardonnay. We hope you've opened the corks. I'm really bad at opening wine, so my husband bought like this electronic thing that doesn't let me mess up. So that gets all the cork in your bottle. I don't mess up now. So let's talk about this. We have a few things that we need to go over tonight. We will, but first I need to say, we are so proud to have you here. Tonight is to honor our Founders Society members and our 1915 Club members. So 1915 Club, that means that you have donated $1,000 or more this year. We can't thank you enough. 254 1915 Club members this year. We have 117 Founders Society members. That means in your lifetime, you've donated $10,000 or more to Riverside. And we have 120 households tuning in tonight. No pressure.
Well, this is the blooper edition of this, so we're good. Like,
oh, wow.
If you wanted the professional, that's at 7 o'clock, not 6 o'clock.
Oh my gosh, no pressure, but we're so glad to have you here. So welcome, and thank you for your investment in Riverside. I have to tell you that Riverside Foundation is 21 years old, and wow, this last year has been quite a different one for us. I need to stop and say that the Riverside Foundation exists for 3 reasons, very quickly. For those of you who are new and just joined us during this pandemic, we're so grateful for your generosity. But the reason we're here are what we call our 3 Gs. The first is gap. We fill the gap between what we know insurance provides and what our patients deserve. Things like transportation to appointments. Things like moving a hospice patient from a condemned house into another place to die with dignity. Things like medications that aren't approved. Over and over, things that fill the gap for people right here at home that have barriers to healing. The second is what we call good to great, because our communities deserve great doctors, great facilities, great treatment, and private funding can fuel good to great. And the last is gratitude. Gratitude is healing. When we say thank you, we know that we are happier. And gratitude is a tangible way to say thank you to doctors for life-saving and life-changing care. And we are grateful for you. So now let's welcome our new Founder Society members this year and our Founder Society members that donated more this year and elevated within the Founder Society. We are so grateful for you. We can't thank you enough for your continued and generous support of us. Okay, so is it time to talk about the wine?
I think it is.
Okay, it's time to talk about the wine. Here we go. For tonight's lineup, we have a 2019 steel barreled Chardonnay. And I'm a Sauvignon Blanc girl, so I can't wait to hear why I like the steel barreled Chardonnay a little bit more than I usually like Chardonnays, but this is lovely. I did taste a little bit before we came on, I'm gonna admit that. We have a 2017 Cabernet Franc, and we have a 2018 Virginia, what I call claret, and I've heard it's claret. We'll get to that later, but I hope you have all of those poured. We can't thank the Williamsburg Winery enough for this. This was possible because they believe in wellness and they believe in Riverside. And so we are here tonight because of their generosity. Additionally, you have a little snack provided by Northern Neck popcorn bag. We hope you enjoy it. It's going to go with your wine really well. So thank you, everybody, as we celebrate in a new way. We'll be tasting each of these wines, but in between, you'll be hearing from some of our doctors. Typically, when we come together, we get to get in a room, we bring our doctors together, you get to ask them questions and hear about the latest VIP information from Riverside. Well, we can't do that tonight, but we do have some pre-recorded messages. If you have questions for them or questions of us, send them our way. If you see something in these videos and you want to hear more or meet a doctor or tour one of their labs, you let us know. We would love to do that. So throughout tonight's broadcast, there is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. You can tell us what you think. You can comment directly to me and Nancy. Be kind, send us positive energy. Rest assured, though, that your camera is not on. Only the moderators can see your camera if you have it turned on. So no one else is seeing you on video. So if you are in your sweatpants with your hair in a bun, drinking your wine, we love it. But thank you for being here. It's just you and us. So please ask us questions about the wine, ask us questions about Riverside, about the foundation, or just life. I think Nancy and I are pretty fun. So just let us know. But I think it's time to get to the wine.
I think it is too. And I'd like to introduce a very special guest we have. And you might question that our layout tonight. So we're not masked, but we're 6 feet apart. We made sure of that. And Matthew was supposed to be next to us, but he has to be behind us as our bodyguards, which I appreciate. But we're very fortunate to have our tasting host and wine expert tonight, our Williamsburg Winery's very own Matthew Mayer.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Nancy, Kristen, and also thank you to all the armed services. And I would like to say past, present, and future for the young ones who are thinking about joining. We at the winery do what we can for you whenever we can. But let's get to the wine.
Cheers to
this
that.
Is the Chardonnay.
Okay.
Now, there's a lot of beautiful things about Chardonnay. One thing, when you think about it and you look at it and you smell it and you taste it, it's no matter where you are from in this world, you will see Chardonnay is probably grown. You can see Chardonnay in Indiana, Wyoming. I think France might have a little bit.
But Wyoming
Just a little
surprises
bit.
me. Just a little in France, but Wyoming.
Argentina, Australia, China, everywhere.
China.
Chardonnay really does grow everywhere, and it takes on the location where it is. But one thing about this Chardonnay, or there are Chardonnays that you could put in oak, and you can put in stainless steel, you can put it in concrete, you can do a lot with it. And I do like to play with Chardonnay. The very first wine I ever made in Napa Valley was a Chardonnay at Heights Wine Cellars. And
Wow.
just to make, Joe Heights, who was my mentor, he always said, he made sure that we went home early. And he said, Matthew, we're not saving lives, we're just making wine. So now when I drink with doctors, I always say this, hey, we're not saving lives, you're saving lives. But to me, it's just a wine, it's a life. We don't save lives, but we hopefully bring you enjoyment.
Celebration of life.
So this Chardonnay is 100% stainless steel. So this is what I would refer to as a naked wine. It is not being masked by anything other than what the grape is and the yeast I used. And the other thing about this wine is that it's a Virginia Chardonnay from stainless steel. There's about 4 or 5 different vineyards that have culminated into that I buy the grapes from. So this is a true representation of Virginia, from the coast to the mountains to the swamps to up north in Northern Virginia. So I've got all the 4 corners represented. Now you'll see I do swirl a lot.
Okay, talk to us about why we swirl our wine.
Well, because the thing is about 90% of what you smell is actually what you're tasting. Without your sense of smell, you don't have a sense of taste, except for, salty, sweeter, beet, the 4 main sensations. Now there's umami, but I don't believe in that. So the more we smell and the more we aerate it, and when you swirl it, you get oxygen infused into it, and that really lifts out the aromatics more. We call it volatilizing esters.
It's a big word.
It's a very big word. But, I do this with my milk sometimes just because it's a force of habit. But as you smell it, and you really should swirl, like if you're doing a professional tasting, we do 20 times before we actually drink it, we smell it. So this one, the Chardonnay, you'll get from the aspects of just stainless steel, you get the brightness, the fruit comes out more. And it's very more, not simple, but the elegance of just the grape comes through. And with that, I think hopefully you'll enjoy it with the popcorn.
Yeah.
You think this goes with the popcorn?
I think it goes with everything.
I have to say, some of the best advice I ever got about pairing your wine was right here at the Williamsburg Winery. And this was maybe 12 years ago when I paired everything with the Sauvignon Blanc. And I said, what do you recommend I pair this with, as I was tasting something? And whoever it was giving the tour at that time said to me, you pair it with whatever you like. And I thought that was excellent advice. However, if we are pairing it with something that it really should complement, what would that be?
If it crawls out of the Chesapeake Bay, then you should probably pair it with this wine. Oysters from Big Island Aquaculture, or because I think they're the best. Rockfish. You put this with rockfish, and you'll be a very happy person.
I'm getting very happy.
We are happy.
I don't see the fish, but this is good.
But because honestly, we have a very unique situation here in Virginia that we have the aquaculture of the Chesapeake Bay.
Absolutely right.
And because of that, I actually do try to pair all my whites with that thing. It's the same concept of like when you go to Italy in the little village and you have their wine and it goes perfectly with their pasta because everything is local, the food, the wine, and it's so regional. I try to encapsulate that whole concept using the Chesapeake Bay, which is our very unique regional culture of food and
Yeah.
history
Right in our backyard.
in our
That's
backyard.
amazing.
Yeah.
And so that's where, if you have an oyster with this, you'll be very happy.
That makes complete sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to ask the team. We have a whole team around us. Obviously, it's not just Nancy and Matthew and me,
Kristen.
just right down here in the cellar. We have a team around us. I'm going to ask you guys if you could remind us later to talk about our tree of lights that we usually have in person at Karen and Steve Barr's home, because we have a ton of oysters at that event. But obviously, we're not having that event in the same way. So thank you for that.
Yep.
I want to talk about Tree of Lights a little bit later. So if you guys could remind me at the end of this to talk to you about how you can still support that amazing event with or without the oysters. But thanks, Matthew. This was awesome. So Nancy and I, we don't believe in dumping our wine, but we will finish this. But I'm gonna put this back for now. So thank you. So remember, if you have questions for us, questions for Matthew, go ahead and ask them. But we want to transfer over to some of our doctors and some of our messaging tonight around their specialties and what they do and what they bring to this community. We all know that cancer hasn't stopped for COVID. Our cancer patients are still battling the same battles that they had before COVID-19 came into their lives. They are courageous and they are amazing, and Riverside is right here by their sides to help them out as we battle this pandemic. I lost my father 5 years ago to cancer this month, and I believe that's why I ended up here at Riverside, to support this amazing work for cancer patients and their families. Nancy, can you talk to me and talk to everybody else about our oncology patients and our high-risk patients and what we're doing during this time for them?
All of our patients are so important to Riverside. Our oncology patients have taken a special focus to us, especially during the pandemic. It's hard to get that diagnosis and to go through a course of treatment outside of COVID. But when you face or overlay the burden of the disease or the concern of treatment, when we are also going through a pandemic, it's caused all of our Riverside conversations to focus on safety of our patients and to make sure that where they got their care and treatment was ready for them. Our oncology service line is an incredibly important service line for Riverside Health System. It is renowned in our area. It has just a wonderful group of nurses and physicians to care for our patients. And we want to make sure that we are there for them, just like all of the diseases that face our healthcare communities.
We have a recorded message tonight from Dr. McAllister, and he's going to talk to you about some amazing technology that Riverside has that is really special and very unique, that provides amazing resources. So now, you guys, I have to tell you, I don't know what I'm supposed to say next, because we have this confidence monitor here. It's called a confidence monitor, and it tells us what we're supposed to say next, though. Okay, so thank you. Thank you all for bearing with us.
This is the blooper edition.
This is the blooper edition.
So hang in. 7 o'clock is the real live, but this is the blooper edition.
So Dr. McAllister works with some amazing technology that I have a hard time pronouncing. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really understand what it does, but he explains it so well. And we're really grateful to have it here. So Riverside Oncology has 4,200 new cases of cancer every single year. On average, 10,000 patient encounters with our navigators. Our cancer navigators are folks who hold your hand through the entire process. When you have a question, when you want to know what's next in your treatment, when your medicine isn't working for you, you call your navigator. And that's an extremely valuable resource that's available because of the foundation and because of your donations to the foundation. So we'd love to hear from Dr. McAllister, and I'm going to turn it over to Nancy to talk more about his specialty and what he does here.
So Dr. McAllister is known to many of us as Billy McAllister, but we are so fortunate to have him as part of our Riverside family. We can count on him, whether we're going through a pandemic or not, to help us always do the right thing. Your support of our cancer program, to Kristen's point, has helped us fund our navigation, where we have nurses who help answer questions no matter the time or day, and to help walk people through their journey. Dr. McAllister is just one of our surgeons that continues to see high-risk patients even during this pandemic, and is just a faithful Riverside physician.
So Dr. McAllister specializes in, and he's going to tell you this, but I'm going to go ahead and pretend like I understand these amazing things that he does. The surgical treatment of brain tumors, I get that. All aspects of spinal surgery, but he has expertise in gamma knife radiosurgery and variant edge for the treatment of brain tumors. So here's more from Dr. McAllister on this amazing technology right here in your community.
My role at the Radiosurgery Center is I'm the co-medical director, and I'm one of 5 neurosurgeons that oversee and bring cases to the radiosurgery to perform stereotactic radiosurgery on the gamma knife unit that we have here. Here at the Radiosurgery Center, we predominantly treat tumors with the gamma knife technology, and the most common types of tumors in the brain are the most common things that we treat here, and that's metastatic tumors, tumors that have spread from other sources within the body. Here in the Peninsula of Virginia, that means that we're mostly treating lung cancers that have metastasized or spread to the brain, breast cancer patients. We also see patients with skin cancers, mostly melanomas, kidney cancers. So the big thing about the gamma knife is the precision that it offers. Almost every tumor is treatable with some form of radiation, but radiation over an indiscriminate amount of brain tissue is never good for the healthy parts of the brain. And the real thing that the gamma knife helps us to achieve is the ability to deliver radiation to only the prescribed areas that are abnormal in the doses that it takes for the radiation to be effective, and to limit the amount of radiation that goes to parts of the brain that don't need radiation. And so it's the precision that it brings to the treatment is what really makes it sort of better than all the other options. The margin of error for a gamma knife treatment is usually about 0.8 millimeters, which is more accurate than the best surgeon's hands in the world. So we're able to sort of deliver these treatments to these tumors, even when they're adjacent to critical structures, and limit the toxicity and still make the tumor that's sitting right next door go away or cease to be a problem. So in that regard, it offers the ability to do radiation treatments without a lot of the side effects that people had grown to sort of accept as part of radiation therapy. With the Icon unit, which we got back in April and brought on board, like I said, right about the beginning of the clampdown, we can now treat fairly sizable tumors. And because it only requires the patient come in for a mask, it's easier than to come in one day, have the mask put on, it fits to the board here, get a treatment, go home, recuperate for a few days, come back, use the same mask, and do the same treatment. So essentially what the Icon has allowed us to do is to combine the benefits of the traditional way of doing radiation, which is small doses on multiple days with rest in between, with the precision of the gamma knife. Been able to not only do treatment in places, but also sort of contribute to the general literature and to the knowledge of how these treatments play out and sort of help therapies. So a place hospital usually doesn't publish what they do the same way you would if you were at a major medical center. But that's one thing here at Riverside that we've done a lot of, because we're one of very few community hospitals that have this type of technology combined with the machine next door, the Variant Edge. So we really have sort of the full gamut of what's called stereotactic radiosurgery and radiation treatments. But not many community hospitals aside from Riverside have a gamma knife Icon unit and a Variant Edge, an inpatient CT, an in-house CT scanner, where all this stuff is done here. You'd have to drive to Charlottesville before we put this up to get the same thing. And if you lived in some states, don't even have a center like this in the whole state. So we're fortunate in that regard. And we like, the fact that we can offer something that is at the leading edge of where medical therapy for these things currently exists. Yeah, we appreciate everything that the donors have done for neurosciences, for the health system, for the hospital, for our patients. It's much appreciated. Every penny is appreciated, no doubt.
Okay, I think we're back. Thank you, Dr. McAllister. In the future, when it's safe to get back together, you'll have the chance to meet Dr. McAllister and ask him questions live, to maybe even see that technology He is amazing. We're so glad to have him here. So don't forget to keep sending us those questions. We have them. We're ready to answer them for you, but we're switching to our red wine. So it's perfect to talk about cardiology.
It is, but first I think we're going to talk with Matthew, right?
Oh, you know what? I think that's true. The red wine is perfect to talk about cardiology. So Matthew's going to take us to the red wine and then we're coming back.
Yes, we are. Matthew, over to you.
Well, it's pretty hard to follow Dr. McAllister, but I'm going to do what I can. So Cabernet Franc. I just want to explain Cabernet Franc to you in a very simplistic term that hopefully you can all understand. Before I do that, it is the state grape of Virginia, the state red grape. The state white grape is Viognier. So it does hold a very important part of our local culture. But to me, it's the little brother. We all have a best friend in high school, and you go to your best friend's house the first time, and you see that best friend, and that best friend is Cabernet Sauvignon. And you think, oh, you're a good friend. And then this little kid runs into the room, and it's Cabernet Franc, and you think to yourself, after spending a little time with Cabernet Franc, wow, you might actually be a little cooler than your big brother or big sister. I actually kind of want to hang out with you. So that's how I interpret Cabernet Franc. It has such a roundness with the fruit and the earthiness. You get these wonderful characters of the forest and leather and fruit.
Cheers.
Without such strong tannins. So it becomes a really, really food-friendly wine. Something that you can just, be with. A great friend. I'm not saying ditch your best friends, for their little brother or sister, but, hang out with them too. But you can see when you smell it and you taste it, and you get these wonderful red fruits. Like, I don't know if you're getting, raspberry and the cherries, and then you get like these the blackberries. So there's this notion of like walking through a blueberry or blackberry or raspberry field.
Oh, wow.
When it's fresh in the summertime, and then maybe if you're lucky enough, you're on a horse and you can smell that saddle as you're
The leather?
the leather of the saddle.
Leather. I always,
Clearly,
yes.
I have the wrong job. Clearly.
And then,
Smelling leather.
the brambleberries, these all come together in Cabernet Franc. But what Cabernet Franc is, what I really like about it is that, and I used to make these big Napa Valley Cabernets, and I've had the enamel ripped off my teeth and my tongue purple, where Cabernet Franc has this, a much more gentler approach to life, where it embraces you and what you're eating, as opposed to overpowering it. So I've always appreciated that about Cabernet Franc. And I think hopefully you'll see this Cabernet Franc, actually, there are 6 different vineyards around the state of Virginia that I bought these grapes from. A little bit from us here in Williamsburg, but then all around, just like the Chardonnay, to really express what Virginia has to offer. So hopefully, you'll get the same things.
I love that. I love that. And tell us quickly, Matthew, when we're holding up this wine compared to maybe the next one that we're doing, what's the difference? Some red wines you can see straight through, some you can't. What causes that?
One's a claret and one's a Cabernet Franc.
Oh, there we go. That was very easy. Okay.
No, it's just it's the blend. It'll
It's
be
the
a lot of
blend.
it'll be the blend and the vintage. So there's 2 different vintages here. So
Okay.
Is there any difference in holding it by the glass like I am, or the stem?
you should hold it by the stem.
By the stem. So I think we actually might have had that question come in. Where do we hold our glass? Somebody did say that. Tell me this. I've heard that for red wine, who knows if what you've heard is true. You should hold it like this so it warms your glass. But tell us how we should be holding our glass. Right here by the
by
stem.
the stem.
Right here by the
So
stem.
if your host or your spouse or friend has poured you the wine correctly, it'll be the perfect temperature. And if you hold it like this, your body temperature changes the temperature of the wine.
Mm-hmm.
So if you hold it like this, you end up with you're not obscuring anything, which is why you will never see stemless glasses in my house.
Oh, we'll never. Okay. Well, we have a lot of questions coming in. I love that, but I am going to ask this one because I see that our really good friend, Coach John Krikorian from CNU, has asked, what is the ideal time for these to breathe? So meaning we pour them, we let them sit, we let them aerate because it brings out the taste.
Yeah.
What is the ideal time?
Well,
Coach Krikorian, good question.
For these wines, I would go, for the Cabernet Franc, it's a pretty young wine. I think, you could do like anywhere between 30 seconds and an hour. Just kind of being cheeky there, but no, honestly, sir, you do want it to open up a little bit, but I think, an hour is really good, but that would be the best.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to drink it before then, it'll be good. Just if you swirl it, the more you swirl, the quicker you're opening it up. And that's why we swirl.
Okay, that's why we swirl it.
Yeah.
Okay, Coach Krikorian, you text me afterwards and we'll have a conversation about this. I have to say that we saw a note come in from Lynn Ellis that she's tasting. What do we see? Cherry notes on this. Lynn, it's amazing to see your name. It's amazing to have your support. After we just finished talking about oncology, all that you and Dr. Ellis have done for oncology here in Williamsburg and throughout Riverside's communities, we can't thank you enough. So I have to say cheers to Lynn Ellis and Dr. Mark Ellis for joining us. Well, Dr. Mark Ellis for what he did and Lynn for joining us tonight. I'm so glad to see your comment.
Thank you, Lynn.
Okay, so we are going to move on to cardiology. So perfect for red wine. This is really when Nancy was supposed to talk about cardiology.
I am. So we are fortunate at Riverside Health System to work with some wonderful cardiologists. And let me tee up the video that you're about to see. Dr. Chu is our cardiovascular pulmonary services line chief and uses our newly renovated electrophysiology and interventional radiology labs. And if you haven't seen that space, we would love to show it to you. He works with Dr. Ward, and Dr. Ward is our program director for our Women's Heart Center, both of which we're so fortunate, and they also work with a team of people that we're so fortunate to have right into our community.
We're really grateful to have them here. As you know, heart disease is a leading cause of death for men and women in the United States. Every 36 seconds, there is a case of cardiovascular disease. Let's hear more from Dr. Chu and Dr. Ward.
Always been, and one of the reasons why I am here, a community-centered hospital system. Quite passionate about that. And in that setting, it is the reason why I support Riverside. I do believe that cardiovascular disease is the most common killer still in the country. And this is where we take care of this problem. So Riverside has our cardiovascular services, one of the standard bearers of cardiovascular care, certainly in our community. We provide a care to include management of acute heart attack and acute stroke. Here in the electrophysiology lab, we take care of patients with even common arrhythmias such as atrial fibrillation, and ablations can be performed, to life-threatening arrhythmias such as ventricular tachycardia, and common arrhythmias such as other rapid heart rhythms, supraventricular tachycardia, where patients can suffer bad outcomes to include passing out. We implant defibrillators here. These are life-saving devices and really designed for a laboratory like this. Our interventional radiology suite allows us to perform complex arterial and aortic disease management strategies where we can perform them with catheters and without surgery. So approximately 2 years ago, our team built a hybrid operating room where we perform many of these same procedures in the setting of the operating room. And that is one of the services that we can provide, the only one on the peninsula. Actually, the only one in the region except for Norfolk, where hybrid laboratories have become state of the art. it's become really quite interesting that we've evolved with medicine, which is changing daily.
As a non-invasive cardiologist, I specialize in general cardiology, preventative cardiology, and imaging, of course. Imaging includes transthoracic echocardiogram, transesophageal echocardiogram, and stress testing, including treadmill stress testing, stress echocardiogram, and nuclear medicine stress testing. Non-invasive cardiology is continually growing, and as such, there are great new innovations coming forward. One of the things we have started to use more recently is 3D echocardiography, which helps us to visualize structures in a 3D view as opposed to the standard 2D view that we've normally seen with echo. This helps in preparing for valve cases, both with interventional and our cardiac surgeons. At Riverside Cardiology Specialists, we are able to offer technologies that are cutting edge so that patients do not have to travel to other institutions or far away from home to get their testing done. Cardiology is always advancing and quite rapidly, so there are always new technologies, new procedures, and new medications for our patients. I'm particularly proud at Riverside Cardiology that we incorporate the newest trial data into our practice. And particularly for myself, I am very interested in women's cardiovascular disease, and we have recently started a women's heart center here at Riverside that I am the director of. So that is something I'm very proud of and something that is cutting edge in cardiology today. The Women's Heart Center focuses, again, on women's cardiovascular disease, which is so important as cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women in America. That is a fact that is not well known, and most women are actually not aware of that fact. They're also not aware of the traditional and non-traditional risk factors that portend increased risk to cardiovascular disease. And at the Women's Heart Center, we have a comprehensive approach where we discuss risk factors, again, education, and then we discuss what testing would be necessary, if any at all. And as the only female cardiologist on the peninsula and at Riverside Cardiology, I take that role very seriously. And that's why I'm very excited to be starting the Women's Heart Center. Thank you so much for your continued support of Riverside and Riverside Cardiology. In particular, we have been able to acquire scales for our patients all the way up to the newest and greatest technology. And all of those are incredibly important to providing state-of-the-art care to our patients right here.
Represent a very, very comprehensive team that really appreciate the support of our community, the foundation in particular. Without it, we really are not as successful. But this is actually where the action happens. So when you come in with your heart attack or stroke, we'll be ready, and we appreciate your support.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chu and Dr. Ward. We are so blessed to have talent right here at home. You don't have to travel for the best care, the best technology. Riverside has it right here. That's what your support does for us, and we're so lucky to have it. Okay, so we're about to head right back to Matthew for our next wine. We did have a couple of good questions come in for Matthew. Nancy and I feel like you're not asking us enough questions, but that's fine. We know you're saving it for the end.
It's all about the wine. It's all about the wine.
So we're moving on to what I've always called a claret. I even looked it up on the internet to ensure that it was claret, but
Glass number 3.
yes. Okay, we're ready. So Matthew, talk to me about claret or claret.
Claret.
If I may.
If you may.
Before I talk about the claret, I would like to answer Dr. Roger Emery's question about the stem. He's a friend, and hello, Roger. And I know his wife, Dr. Teresa Emery, is also watching, and God bless her as well. She is on the board.
She's on our board, Dr. Teresa Emery.
Has been a big supporter and good friends. And the fact that Roger asked a question about holding stems, I think is fabulous, because if you're ever lucky enough to be invited to their home, he has the most fabulous wine glasses that you just want to hold by the stem.
Nice.
They're the most sexiest, beautiful wine glasses. And he knows what I'm talking about. So Roger, cheers. And yes, hold that, Roger, hold that glass by the stem.
Okay.
So now we're going to move on to the claret.
Yeah.
Now, so this would be going back in the olden days or whatever, the British referred to the wines from France, from Bordeaux, as clarets, and they were blends. So being in Williamsburg, me being a British citizen with an American accent, have this affinity to the old world. And so the Claret is a blend. We have Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon, Petit Verdot, Merlot, and a little bit of Norton, which is native to Virginia. But it just refers to a blend, and there's no legal requirements. It just, for us, it's a Claret, it's a blend. But this to me is a wine of such pureness. I love leftovers.
Mm.
Like you come home and you have a leftover pizza, lasagna, sandwich.
Italian's always the best leftover,
Right.
is it not?
It
Does
is.
Italian
So
not
true.
always
And
heat
if
up the
you
best?
have leftovers, or if you
Give
just
me
want to
some
have,
lasagna.
you want to just go on the grill and cook something, this wine is the perfect bistro wine, trattoria wine,
Mm.
cafe wine.
Mm.
It's a wine that I would never tell my mom. Oh, Mom, I made the greatest wine in the world. But I would tell her that I've made a wine that goes with anything that you want to cook. You get this, a lot of layers with this wine. And that's, to me, that's what's really important is balance and layers. So when you smell it, you get the oak,
Mm.
not a lot,
Do you?
but just a little, just a nice little subtle hint. And then you get, I really like the combination of the red fruits and the darker fruits, some of the aged fruits. Like when we talk about different fruits, we have your berries, usually reds,
Mhm.
except for the black ones, the blackberries and the black cherries. And then you transition into like the prunes, the dates, the figs, and that kind of thing. So when you have a wine that can transition through that spectrum of fruit, it's really, it opens up the ability for pairing it fantastically. And then if you balance that with the tannins, so the tannins aren't too tight, they're not too strong, it becomes a wine that is like your favorite shoe.
Hmm.
It's like, this is the most comfortable shoe I own. This is what I want to wear.
Mm.
And that's what I try to create with this wine, is that having that harmony with all of the different fruits, the tannins, and a little bit of earthiness, because there is a lot of different fruits in here. Not fruits, but grapes in the sense of like Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, Norton. And they all offer just a part of their personality.
Mhm.
Not all of their personality, but just a part to lend to the whole. And that's what I'm trying to create with this. And hopefully you can see that when you try it, that it's, it has this balance to it.
It's great.
It is
It's
great.
lovely. And we have some
Mhm.
questions coming in for
Mhm.
you, not Nancy, not me, but for you, Matthew. And we're glad to do that.
It's all about
So-
Matthew tonight. It's all
it is. It's all about Matthew. We are in his cellar tonight. So first of all, I see that Bill Brower is watching with us. Bill and Michelle, we're so glad to have your leadership and support here.
Yes.
So Bill asked, and you mentioned grill, and I thought about Bill Brower. If you are friends with Bill Brower on Facebook, his smoking grilling game is amazing.
Next level.
Yes, next level. And you mentioned grilling. So I thought of Bill Brower, and here he is. When should you decant? Asks Bill Brower.
Oh, well, sir, obviously decanting it's important for your big wines. If you open up a wine and when you smell it, you're like, it feels muted. If you decant it, and that's the same thing we're doing now. Decanting is just infusing the wine with lots of oxygen quickly to release the aromatics.
Mm-hmm.
So you can really decant anything. And it's also, I think, kind of romantic and fun to decant.
I agree with that.
But on the bigger
Clearly,
wines, like you're
I
really
have been
like
drinking
when
wine
you decant.
wrongly.
Unromantically.
Yeah. Slop
Sorry.
it into the
Sorry.
cup.
Nancy has been
Thanks
drinking
for
her
the
wine.
tips. This is a reminder that wine
Unromantically.
is something to treasure. So I appreciate this.
Decant
sorry,
the big
Matthew.
wine. No,
Okay.
just sir, decant the big wines and enjoy.
So we have a few more things coming in, and I'm going to try to take them in order so it feels like we're following the same train of thought here. First of all, Lynn Ellis talked about the Norton grape Did we mention Norton grape? Could you expand on that?
Yeah. So Norton it is absolutely indigenous to the state of Virginia. I'm not from the state of Virginia, but I'm learning about Norton, and we actually did a few Nortons here, but it has, and this is actually really cool in the medical field, it has the highest concentrations of anthocyanins of any other grape in the world.
So Nancy is a clinician. Do you know what that term meant, Nancy?
Anthocyanins.
No clue.
Is it not a biological term, or is it a chemistry term?
It's a chemistry term.
Okay, it's a chemistry
But
term.
it's a lovely wine chemistry term. It's what gives wine the color,
Okay.
and there are some medical benefits to it.
Well, we do have a nurse right here. What are the medical benefits to that?
Well, I'm 85, so just
Oh my God.
Okay, so Bill Grace, Bill, thank you. Janice, thank you for being here with us tonight. Bill said, what is important about the composition of the soil that the grapes are grown in? Bill, that's a great question, and we're so glad to have you on our board as our leader, and then having a glass of wine with us tonight.
the soils
Mhm.
around here, we have a lot of sandy loam with pretty good drainage. But if
Okay.
you go, like a lot of my wines, especially all the Virginia ones, are such a combination of
Mhm.
soils.
Mhm.
We deal with we have some volcanic stuff up our north.
Nice.
We have the clay, I don't know if you've ever been to like in Charlottesville,
Mhm.
that orange clay, which
Mhm.
ruins your shoes
Yeah,
and ruins
okay,
anything
yes.
it touches.
My
Yep.
high
We have
heels, my
that.
pumps.
Mhm.
Yeah, but here, all I can really attest to, sir, is we have sandy loam. We're very close to the James River, so we're low elevation, and there's a lot of different layers, but sandy loam.
Okay, so thank you. We have a question from Dr. Gary Cavett. Dr. Cavett is our service line chief for our emergency departments here across Riverside and all of our acute care facilities, and is an amazing supporter of Riverside. So Dr. Cavett, I'm actually really pleased with your question. You didn't mean to do this, but you have given us the chance for a shameless plug. Dr. Cavett, and we have to say hi to Judy with you, hopefully at home, has asked what we recommend for Thanksgiving. And before I turn it to Matthew, I'm going to tell you what I recommend for Thanksgiving. So I'm going to, shameless plug. We have partnered with the Williamsburg Winery for a dry rosé. This came out about 2 weeks ago. If you follow us on Facebook, you saw this amazing news that supports women's cancer and breast health right here. 30% of every single bottle of this rosé sold supports Riverside and supports women battling cancer right here in your community. I would recommend this for your turkey and for all that you have with your turkey, but let's ask the expert, and who is not going to give a shameless plug. Matthew, what would you recommend for Thanksgiving?
Champagne.
Oh,
no.
Champagne goes with everything.
I'm just kidding.
I love
No,
champagne.
I'm not kidding. Champagne is good. But honestly, there's 3 wines that go with
Turkey.
Thanksgiving dinner.
Mhm.
Yes.
A nice dry rosé from the Williamsburg Winery.
Oh, yep. Yes.
Nowhere else. Pinot Noir
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
or champagne. And that, those are the ones, because there's so many different flavors that are happening on your plate. You want something that's friendly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And a rosé, honestly, is one of the best. And we are so happy to partner with Riverside to do this. And
Thank
if
you.
we could give more, we will. And we hope you like it. It's a great rosé.
It's lovely.
It's inspired by my wife, Elena, and her beauty, and having that, just the right color and finesse and elegance in a bottle is going to go with anything you got for Thanksgiving.
Wow, you said it right. So this, when we got the call that Williamsburg Winery wanted to support Riverside and all that we're doing, this was one of our first collaborations. And I have to tell you, when this came out a few weeks ago, I stopped by the winery and I grabbed 6 bottles of this. And I texted 6 of my closest friends who are at home, who have kids that are learning remotely, who are trying to struggle their careers. And I said, I'm dropping this off for a strong woman to support strong women. And so thank you for that. And I also love champagne. So champagne in my world goes with absolutely everything. By the way, Dr. Emery has given us some more information about those amazing glasses that you just mentioned. Dr. Emery, at the end, we will come back and talk about those glasses. Whoever wants to hang out with us, we'll talk about whatever you would like to. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna move on. I'd like to introduce Dr. Dacey. Dr. Dacey is our President and Chief Operating Officer, and if you have not met him, you need to meet him. Dr. Dacey is brilliant. He has brought talent and skill and steadiness to Riverside. He has met strength with strength, and we are so glad to have him and have him during this pandemic. Let's turn it over to Dr. Dacey.
Was a huge advantage to our team members, and they appreciated that. They knew that, whether they be doctors or nurses or people involved in environmental services or in the lab, pharmacy, it doesn't matter. They're people that really are true heroes. They take care of patients at great risk to themselves, and our goal was to try and minimize that risk by getting them all the equipment they needed. Other things like testing were enormously expensive, and we were able to find a way to do that. We now have the ability to run in-house testing for the virus. Again, huge expense that you all helped us with in terms of making certain that we could provide that quick, immediate results feedback so that both our patients were well cared for and our team members knew what they were dealing with. So people can't thank you enough for that. That was really, really great. So the pandemic had very real effects on the healthcare system. Some of it was actually a positive effect. It allowed people to rally around hospitals and realize the people that worked here were just great people and very dedicated and put their own lives at risk in terms of taking care of patients as they did each and every day. But it also had many negative effects. It had effects on the stress and the toll it took on the frontline caregivers caring for these patients. It had a lot of negative effects on the patients themselves and their families because visiting hours had to be restricted. It also had negative effects on the financial situation of all healthcare systems. So in Riverside, for example, so far as a result of the pandemic, we've lost about $120 million in income. Now, the good news is that the government support for that has been very meaningful and has allowed us to make up well over half of that. And so that's been very, very helpful. And we've been able to reduce other expenses that have gone a long way to getting us to where we need to go. We haven't done what other health systems have done, which is to do layoffs or do furloughs. We didn't think that was the right thing to do, but we still faced a significant gap in the support that you all have helped us with donations and philanthropy, and that the foundation has helped lead, have been very meaningful parts of our plan of finance as we get through this pandemic. So people ask, what does the future hold? This whole thing began around St. Patrick's Day, and the question is, when will it be over, and how do we see ourselves getting from here to the point where life is somewhat more close to normal. Ultimately, it'll be a vaccine that helps us. So we are more optimistic about the future than we were in March. We're more confident about our ability to treat patients like this. We know the clinical results we produce are going to be far superior to what we experienced in March, because our understanding and our technology that we can deploy against the virus has grown. And so we feel increasingly confident about the future. And as I say, we can't thank you enough for your support. It's been a meaningful part of why we're confident about the future. Thank you.
Okay, we're back. Thank you, Dr. Dacey. We're so grateful for your leadership, and I know Nancy is so grateful for your partnership. Nancy?
Yeah, so many of you don't know Dr. Dacey yet, but I encourage you to reach out to meet him. He would want to be called Mike. But he and I have offices next to each other, right down the hall from Mr. Downey, and he has just been a great advocate for patients, the heart of our mission, and I'm just very grateful to work with Dr. Dacey. He has taught me a lot. He's wicked smart. We have this little bit of a standing joke where he does a lot of reading over the weekend on JAMA articles and what's research out there and what do we need to make sure that Riverside is doing. And I do a little bit of that, but also have some time doing Charlotte's Web with my grandkids. So we are great. We're a great partnership, and we're very grateful to have him.
You know, you reminded me, I was going to say this at the beginning. How many grandkids?
12.
12 grandchildren. That's amazing. So I hear grandchildren, for all of you grandparents out there. My mom has always said that grandchildren are the biggest blessings, that she knew she would love my child. She just didn't know the power of being a grandparent. So 12 grandkids. Thank you, Dr. Dacey, again.
And so the only thing I'd add to that is just the power of love. And so as we've seen questions pop up here, I've never had the privilege of meeting Lynn Ellis, and I've heard wonderful things about Dr. Ellis, and I would love that opportunity. Thank you for what he has done for Riverside. And so many people still speak so highly of him. His legacy is so there. And Dr. Cavett, and just the questions, and Dr. Emery, Dr. Chu, and those that we've represented tonight. So it's just such a privilege. As I sat here tonight and saw names pop up, I am forever grateful for the opportunity to work with such people that care for others as we care for those we love.
I agree. And we have a few more formal notes for you, but we have a lot of questions, and we're going to sit here until you're done asking them. But Nancy?
Yeah, so one special thank you that I would like to give tonight is to Tappahannock. So Tappahannock Hospital has been a tremendous part of our community. I think Bill Downey says it best. It's bittersweet that they will become the family of VCU after January, but they have made such a difference, as well as the regional donors associated and the service they provided to our community. I would also like to thank the Northern Neck Popcorn Snack, a savory little bit of popcorn that we've been able to enjoy tonight with our wine. So thank you so much for that. But the other thing I would like to make sure that we acknowledge is the service that they provided to our communities. They are one of the best in our patient experience and quality, safety, and service. And that is not done without the leadership of Liz Martin. I've had the privilege of working with Liz from the first day that I was part of Riverside. And she has just done such a wonderful job at Tappahannock and through every position that she's had within Riverside. I will greatly miss her, but I will also hopefully stay in touch with her. So thank you, Liz. I wanted to make sure we acknowledged you tonight.
In that vein, before I close out with formal comments and we keep going with your really awesome questions, I have to thank Frances Ellis, who is a foundation board member and who lives in Tappahannock, and I think is watching this with Nancy Weekly, who we also adore and love. Frances, thank you for all you have done. We have to raise a glass to Frances Ellis.
Thank you, Frances.
Who we honored at the Riverside Foundation's 20th anniversary gala. And in Liz Martin's words, Frances taught her how to classy cuss, is what Liz said. You find us for more on that later. But Frances, if you are watching with us, we can't tell you how much we absolutely adore you, love you, and are so grateful for all you've done to promote Riverside and the Riverside Foundation. Even though Tappahannock is your home and love, you have supported Riverside as a whole. We will miss you and love you, and we are so glad you're here toasting with us tonight. And I think Nancy Weekly is with you as well, so thank you, Nancy. So it seems like we are at the end of our formal presentation. We do have a lot of questions coming in though, and we're so happy to stay here. So if you have to sign off and eat your dinner, we understand. But if you'd love to, I don't know, bring out a block of cheese and cut it up and sit here with us, let's do it. We have some questions coming in. We'd love to answer them. I have to tell you that, Nancy, I shared that my dad passed away from cancer 5 years ago. I think that's what led me to Riverside. My mentor, along with you and Faye Gargiulo, Debbie Atkinson, is the person who found me and brought me here, and I believe the stars aligned. But last night, as I was reading through what we were supposed to do today, my best friend called me and told me that her mom's just been diagnosed with cancer, and I immediately went back to what that felt like as a family member, as somebody who has no clue what's going on, and started asking questions that I realized were from the Riverside perspective, because I realized that Riverside steps in and helps you and helps your family every step of the way. And that's what the foundation is here for. And so I felt great that I could ask her the right questions and comfort her, but I was brought right back to that diagnosis for my dad. And so I'm so grateful to all of our physicians and nurses. How many nurses do we have working at Riverside?
Not enough, but we have a great nursing team, and probably about 6,000, I would say. And they are indeed our healthcare heroes, just like all of the team that takes care of a patient. We are ready to serve, again, underneath our mission to care for others as we care for those we love. We are so fortunate.
6,000
probably
nurses.
Yep.
That's amazing. And Nancy is our chief nursing officer. I think it must be amazing to come up, start as a nurse, and then now be the person who gets to support all of those people coming up through your shoes.
Well, I always say that I could be sick and be gone 3 or 4 days, and everyone would say, "Has anyone seen Nancy?" But the nurses at the care team that are caring for patients, we need them every day. We miss them for one day that they might be out, and so they are the heart of our healthcare system, and I'm just grateful to support them.
We are grateful that you support them with us as well. So we're going to go ahead and close out our formal program, except that I said, please remind me to talk about Tree of Lights coming up. Yes,
that's right.
I'm going to formally announce this. We got in the rosé. Thank you, Dr. Gary Cabot, for your Thanksgiving question that allowed me to talk about the rosé. And actually, before I go to Tree of Lights, I have to give the most shameless plug, but thank Dr. Teresa Emery, who a couple months ago called us up and talked with us and nominated us for one of Coastal Virginia Magazine's top giving back nonprofits. And wow, the news came in September that we are in, can you see this? That the Riverside Foundation is on page 45 of this magazine. We're featured here as a top 10 giving back nonprofit in the region. And I liken it to this. Many people say that the church is not walls, it's not the steeple, it's not the pews, it's the people. And the foundation team is not an office, it's not the staff members, it is you. And so we cannot thank you enough for the support this year to be featured in such an amazing publication and to talk about the amazing work that we get to support every day. The foundation team is privileged to do this work. When people say, do you love your job? We say it is more than that. It is an honor every single day to do this amazing work. So thank you for allowing us to do it right along with you. We're so glad to have you on. So, okay. So if that is that the end of, guys, did I say everything I was supposed to say?
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, Matthew.
Tree of Lights.
Matthew.
I just want to say one thing.
Please do.
Y'all.
And then you can cut it off.
Yeah, no, we're going to keep
I
going.
really just want to say thank you to Consociate Media.
Absolutely.
And though that crew, Stephanie and Rudy and the whole team, that really pulled this together and made it possible. And they're a fabulous company to work for. And I really appreciate what they do and have done for this evening.
Stephanie Heinens, we love you. We love Consociate. I agree with you. So you can't see Consociate. They're all behind the camera now, making us hopefully look pretty good right now.
I've never looked so good.
Right? We are lit up and hopefully looking nice. Lit up by the lights, not the wine. But shameless plug again, the team over there just said, you asked to be reminded about Tree of Lights and then you just moved on. Tree of Lights. Every single year we gather 400 people plus, right, at Karen and Steve Barr's
Beautiful.
gorgeous
Beautiful.
home in Gloucester that they give up for the night to raise money for Riverside Walter Reed. And so this year, obviously we can't bring 400 people together for oysters and a view of the gorgeous York River. Is that the York River? Okay, I need to get my rivers right. You know, I am not a native of Newport News or the peninsula. But this year we can't come together on their property, but Karen, who is a local celebrity. I don't know if Karen's on with us, but we love Karen. Karen has agreed to let us go live from her home as we deliver party packs to you with brisket from Scoots, with crab cakes from Olivia's, with handcrafted toddies and cookie bakes, and of course, specialty wine from the Williamsburg Winery. We deliver the party absolutely to you. Here it is. If you got this in the mail, open it up. There, I'm right there, but with Esther Decimini, our president of Walter Reed, we would love your support of this amazing event. We're going to bring the party to you. You can stay right in your home and have some hot toddies and some wine right with us as you hear about the amazing things going on there. An expansion of the Cancer Center, an expansion of a comprehensive breast health center for women, one-stop shop for women. So you do not have to travel for this amazing top-notch treatment. You can stay right there in your community. So we look forward to Tree of Lights. And if you would like to join us, you have to get your party pack November 18th. Guys, that's coming up. November 18th is like tomorrow. 1 week from today, but join us. Please join us for Tree of Lights. That was a shameless little pulling it up plug, but okay. Before we run into these really awesome questions, do I have any shameless plugs I have to give besides we are really grateful for you guys. Julia Bowditch wants me to mention that there's also an auction involved with Tree of Lights. So you go and you bid early, bid often, bid high. There might be some Veuve Clicquot. I'm sorry. I know that, you know,
I'll take it.
but there might be some Veuve Clicquot in that auction. If you're still hanging out with us, let's go into some questions. Let's go. Thank you. This ends I don't know if any of this was formal, right?
No.
But this ends the formal
Right.
quote to air quotes
Right.
portion of tonight. But
Right.
here we are. We have Matthew at your disposal. Nancy and I are waiting for your questions. We're waiting for your questions, but we have some awesome ones coming in. So, okay. So here we go.
Well, I can answer one question.
Let's do
Actually,
it.
it's not really
Matthew.
it's not a question,
Yeah.
but to refer again to my friend Roger and Teresa, I would
We
like to
love
say,
Roger and Teresa.
to give you another shout out, guys. Those wine glasses, in case anybody's interested, is Zalto. They're hand blown from Austria, and hopefully you're all surgeons so you can afford them. It's Zalto, and they are amazing. The most amazing wine glass you'll ever hold in your hand.
Nice. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, I have to also give a shout out to Adria Van Hoosier, who is the president of our Williamsburg Doctors Hospital right here, who wished us good luck. Thank you. We're sitting in your backyard, and Adria, we're so glad you're here tonight. So that leads me to Dr. McCory. I think I saw something up there from him. Dr. McCory, who works hand in hand with Adria right here at Riverside Doctors Hospital, has asked, not a question of Nancy, not a question of me, but of Matthew. That's good. That's great. We're so glad to have you here.
Yeah, we're
Matthew.
really
Else there'd be
happy about that.
questions. How does different weather affect grapes and the taste of wine? Is it pouring outside right now? We don't know because we're in a wine cellar, but talk to us about weather and grapes.
Yeah, weather actually is probably more important than anything else. But it affects the flavor of the grapes if we get a lot of rain late in the season when the grapes are ripe. But it's also, it's hard to really discuss without spending about 2 years doing it. Because if you go to Bordeaux, which is regaled as one of the best growing regions in the world, if you go in July or August, there's a good chance you're going to get rained on. It's going to be hot and humid, just like it is here in Virginia. Yet in Australia or Argentina or California, some of the other New World areas, it's dry, it's not rainy, and it's easier for them. So it's a very hard question to answer, in the sense that what rain does, though, is it dilutes the flavors. So if it rains, then I have to wait to pick until I've evaporated that water and brought the sugars back to maturity.
Mm. Okay, so we did have, who asked this question? This is a good question. How long should we let wines age? But that feels like a really broad question, right?
No, I love this
No?
question.
Oh.
No, this is my favorite
He
question.
loves this question. We're ready.
Because I feel that you should let the wine age in your stomach as long as you want.
Drink your wine. If you have wine, drink it.
No, but honestly, like a red wine, most red wines are 8 to 10. If they're a lighter style, maybe 6. Obviously, you could go to the more extreme, so 40, 50. So really, it's another question that has a lot of ambiguity to it, because you could hold a wine for 50 years and then it'll be great, but you can have that same wine at 10 years and it'll be great. But this, I would go back to, again, the person about decanting. You can always decant your wine.
That was Bill Brower.
But
Thank you, Bill Brower.
Don't age your wine so long that they lose their personality and become a crotchety old man. That happens a lot.
That wasn't meant for you, Bill Brower, crotchety old man. Can I ask you though? So when we're aging wines, we should age them on their size, but when we're aging champagne, they also be on.
No, yeah, put everything on its side.
Everything on its side.
You want to keep the cork wet.
You want to keep the cork wet. Okay, there we go. So Dr. Nell Hubel, who sent us a good luck text. Thank you very much, Robin. We love you and we're grateful for your leadership. So Dr. Nell Hubel says, I love wine. She put that, I think, in all capital letters. Did she actually put that in all capital letters, guys?
Looks like it.
But my hubby is an avid craft beer drinker. So is mine, Robin. We should get them together. Okay. What is a great recommendation to convert him? So I'm going to give you my non-expert answer before I turn it over to Matthew. So Brian and I love Dogfish Head Winery, who has some great collaborations where they mix wine and beer together. It's amazing. And so I think that's a good way. Also, in my opinion, carbonation. So dry champagne maybe, because it has those bubbles. I am no expert. I just, love champagne and really loved craft beer, and that's a great question. But let's go ahead and turn it over to Matthew, who could have a real answer for you. So Matthew, if we're converting somebody from beer to wine, how do we start them out? Because
No, I'm going to have to circle back to Nancy, because I'm not sure about this as far as, is electroshock and lobotomies legal? I mean, are we allowed to do electroshock treatments or lobotomies?
We are not.
Okay.
But Matthew,
So
thank you
in
for the
that
question. We are not.
Okay. In that case, I'm just being silly.
I
But-
know. Yeah, no, I know.
We know.
But-
Yeah, that's the wine talking. We're good.
Honestly, everybody has a wine or a beer, and a lot of them it's just trying different things. Because, and the more you experiment and the more you try, and you like try to pair the different things, and you have we have a petite man saying that I would say it's something that does
very
actually
sweet,
convert.
right?
No,
Is
it's
that right?
dry, but
It's dry.
there are a lot of things that you can, because if you like beer, there's a flavor profile. So it's trying to find that wine that has that same profile, and also to take away the mysticism of wine. Beer has a much more casual mysticism, and whereas wine, they think, oh, well, it's more stuffy, and it's not. So it's really about the flavor profile. So it's about finding something that they like. If they're really into like IPAs, I would do something like a Syrah, because you're going to have a little bit more of the tannins in a structure.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
We have one or two more questions. I will say that my husband is watching, and my daughter Abigail sent a question, I'm guessing planted by my great husband. Let me say, I was supposed to wear green tonight, but when we arrived for the screen test, the team said wear white. And my daughter Abby weaved me the most beautiful loom green bracelet that I was supposed to wear with my green dress, and I'm not wearing it tonight, but I have to thank Abigail for that good luck charm. And Abby said, what can people do to help Riverside? This is what you can do to help us. Tune in, hear our message, get to know us, support our doctors and nurses, support our mission. And so thank you, Abigail Joy, for that question. Now we have an anonymous question. Are navigators just for cancer patients or for all other patients as well? That's an amazing question, Nancy.
Yeah, so navigators are an important part and probably very well established with our cancer patients.
Right.
But we've recognized that navigators would really help some of our other diseases, Alzheimer's, dementia, anywhere where there's a longevity of a treatment plan and it's complex. And that is not a service that is reimbursed at all. And so we really do look for the foundation to help us support that. And many of you have given to that cause and we're grateful for it. But we really do want to expand that because we think it's the right thing to do for our families and our community.
And again, what a navigator means, it's that person who, when you receive that scary, that unnerving diagnosis of whatever it may be, they are there to hold your hand, to answer your questions, to make sure that as you walk through this courageous battle, whatever it might be, that they are there to help you. They are amazing. And so the foundation is glad to support them with your support. That is how we make navigators work. And yes, we hope to expand it to all service lines. But right now, oncology definitely has our navigators. But to Nancy's point, we have so many other worthy areas that we would love your support with. We have a few other questions coming in. W.T. Guthrie, who we love.
We do love W.T.
We love you. We love you, W.T. Okay, out of all the wines from the Williamsburg wineries, you have a favorite. W.T., are you asking me or are you asking Matthew? I'm gonna make like an assumption here, a real good one.
I think it's Matthew.
Okay. Matthew, what's your favorite?
Well, W.T., I would have to say, as soon as you tell me who your favorite child is, I'll tell you who my favorite wine is.
That's a good
Great
one.
answer.
I'm an only child, so I can answer that
But
perfectly.
if you had two children named Petit Verdot and Albarino, I'd root for them right now.
Awesome. We have a couple amazing comments coming in, and I have to say thank you for the love here. So Gary Arterbridge, who is our partner from Huntington Ingalls and Newport News Shipbuilding, who made the simulation center at Riverside Regional Medical Center possible for us, has said, thank you from all of your friends at Newport News Shipbuilding. Gary, thank you. I have to tell you that when we talk about the 3 Gs and we say good to great, Newport News Shipbuilding and Huntington Ingalls stepped in for good to great. We have an amazing multi-million-dollar simulation center at Riverside Regional Medical Center. If you have not seen it, we would love to give you a tour of that space. Dr. Alex, who has joined us, just retired from the US Navy, again on Veterans Day. Thank you, Dr. Alex. He runs that center and he runs it so well. It is amazing. And it's a place where doctors and nurses and first responders come in and can train in amazing new cutting edge technology and learn their skills right there in a safe environment. Nancy, did you want to talk about simulation and what that means to us?
Yeah, so that, and I echo your gratitude for the shipyard. Our simulation lab is just such a wonderful space for us to learn, to educate, to provide evidence-based learning for our residents, for our nursing students, and it's through the generosity of our foundation as well as families that we've been able to provide that.
If you have not seen it, come see it.
We would love to.
Contact us. We would love to give you a tour of that amazing space. I see that Ramona Deal has Ramona. I love you, and I'm so grateful for the gorgeous masks that you handmade for our cancer patients. You and I talked back in March, and I said, this is something we really need, and you stepped up and you did it. And when I delivered them to the cancer center, I have to tell you, when they opened that box, they said, these are the most beautiful face masks we've ever seen.
Pieces of art.
Oh my gosh, they really were. I have actually one in my bag with fleur-de-lis on it. It's beautiful. So Ramona has said to us, with Riverside being such a leader in cardiology and oncology, what is next on the medical front? I believe Riverside is a leader in so much, but Nancy, that's really for you.
So I would encourage Ramona and others on the call to really see some of the outcomes that we have with our other service lines. One of them that comes top to mind is neurology with Dr. Billy McAllister and the team there. They are outcomes related to care and services, you know, kind of with the foundation of great practitioners like Dr. Frank Sanderson, have really built such a strong program that no one can compete with. You know, we have high-tech equipment that Riverside has worked to make sure that we have. But so it's many, and Ramona, I would love to talk to you about the outcomes that we have, not just in cardiology and oncology, but our other service lines as well.
Stroke intervention. I think we are one of the leaders in stroke intervention
yes.
in the state. Ramona, I know you and I know Nancy, you would love each other. So
look forward
let's
to
do a glass of wine very soon. Thank you for that very much. We've enjoyed everybody's company tonight. We've said our formal goodbyes, but I think we have had our questions and our comments. And wow, Matthew, we are so grateful to you, to Northern Neck Popcorn Bag, to Consociate, to the amazing team that you don't see back there, Consociate, but Julia Bowditch and Allison Fonner. And then I think Amy Ryan and Ryan King are on tech. And then we have Jennifer Frank, and we have an amazing team at the foundation that couldn't wait to make this possible for you tonight. We didn't know if anybody would tune in or appreciate this, but wow, you did. And we loved it. And we love you. Thank you for being with us tonight, Nancy.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here. I feel humbled to be part of this tonight in this company. Each of you that are on the call have made such a difference to Riverside. Thank you for your example to all of us.
We're privileged to do this with you. Thank you. Enjoy your wine.
Cheers.
Cheers to you.
Thank you.